Let's talk about components of lesson objectives. Teachers are responsible to determine first the point of the lesson. They have to formulate objectives with the ABCD components: the audience, behavior, condition, and degree of performance. A well-constructed learning objective describes an intended learning outcome and contains four components. Number one, determine who will achieve the objective, and that is the audience. Use action verbs to write observable and measurable behavior that shows mastery of the objective, and that is behavior. Number three, if any, state the condition under which behavior is to be performed, and that is condition. And the last one is, if possible, state the criterion for acceptable performance, speed, accuracy, quality, and many more, and that is degree of performance.
Audience. The audience is usually the students. In writing our lesson objectives, we consider the learning styles that will work best for them and their specific needs that need to be addressed. To begin, determine what past knowledge your student has. Check if any of the resources you wish to give are familiar to your students. What kind of background do they have before entering the classroom? You will be able to construct an inventive course with unique content by taking into account their useful prior expertise. There is information that your students are unaware of. Giving all students a pre-test or a pre-course quiz can be used to assess prior knowledge. The next is behavior. This refers to actions that describes an observable student behavior. This is also the competency to be learned in performance terms. Frequently used terms as know, appreciate, grasp, understand, have faith in, and internalize do not meet his requirement. It's not difficult to comprehend the various behaviors displayed by students. Individuals could be classified into three groups based on their intellectual behavior using Bloom's taxonomy theory. Students' capacity to apply new abilities they've learned and how they exhibit understanding of the new skills can be determined by observing and assessing their behavior. Learning occurs in three different learning domains according to Bloom. Number one, cognitive domain. Number two, affective domain. And number three, psychomotor domain. The ability to think and apply one's brain power is referred to as cognitive domain learning. The student's ability to manage conflict as well as their emotional stability and growth are referred to as affective domain learning. The physical capacity of a student to utilize an instrument or tool is referred to as psychomotor domain learning. Let's have a quick history about who is Benjamin Samuel Bloom. Benjamin Samuel Bloom, born on February 21, 1913, and died on September 13, 1999. He was an educational psychologist in the United States who contributed to the classification of educational objectives and the motion of mastery learning. The next is condition. These are used to give students limitations. To understand behavior, students must also understand the context in which the behavior is to be performed. Example statements of such conditions include given set of rules. Using the poem The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. These can also relate to specific tools and supplies that a students may need in the classroom or throughout the session. Consider the following. What sort of equipment do you have? And is it necessary to reach your goal? which items should not be permitted in the classroom? Will having too many objects in the classrooms be distracting and hamper learning? Keep in mind that the learner's performance, and as a result, overall conduct, is influenced by the circumstances. Next, degree of performance or criterion level. This describes how well the behavior must be performed to satisfy the intent of the behavioral verb. It also states the level of acceptable performance by which students will be assessed. The final component in the ABCD approach is degree, which refers to the level of performance required for a learner to be considered credible. The learning objective should be at its highest level, meaning the students should be able to generate the target with precision and without making mistakes. Eventually, the students will be unable to produce the goal at all and will make several errors. Make sure that the degree to which students are assessed in your learning objective is specific appropriately when writing it down. The criteria for what is unacceptable are vague. For example, must be able to make 80% on a multiple choice exam or must pass a final exam and to the instructor's satisfaction are not detailed enough to count as a degree. The ABCD method will help you clarify your learning objectives and, as a result, assist you and your students achieve better results. Objectives. These are statements that articulate the knowledge and skill we want students to acquire by the end of the lesson. Learning objectives are defined as the aims that a learner should achieve by the end of a class. A lesson's objective explain the fundamental knowledge and abilities that we want our students to gain from it. Simply defined, it's what the learner can accomplish after learning about the unit. The objectives or goals you want your students to achieve are directly influenced by the resources, subjects, and logical frameworks of a session.